What is going on, my dudes? Tystra here, and we are doing a little bit of a new series here where I talk about some of the builds that I am doing on Genshin Impact. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you like the stuff that you see. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. But we're going to go ahead and get started with one of the characters that a lot of people actually really want to hear about from me, and that's Hu Tao. Hu Tao being one of my stronger characters as one of my team that I always use, and I'm going to show you exactly why I like using her and what I did to make her as good as she is today. So the first things first is obviously every character needs a weapon, and it's no surprise that for Hu Tao, her best weapon is definitely the Staff of Homa. Coming in with a crit damage at the highest rate of 66.2%, you're going to be boosting up your crit rate or crit damage very high, and it's very much worth going for it if you can. And that's basically the pay to play version, obviously. HP increases by 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40%. Right now I am currently rocking a Staff of Homa that has no refinement, so it's getting only 20% increase in HP. Additionally, it provides an attack bonus based on 0.08 or 0.8, 1.2, 1.4, and 1.6%, with me being a 0.8% of the wielder's max HP. When the wielder's HP is less than 50%, this attack bonus is increased by an additional 1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, and 1.8% of the max HP. So if we were to read this as, you know, I'm doing it with just a regular refinement, you could do HP increased by 20%, additionally provides an attack bonus based on 0.8 of the wielder's max HP. When the wielder's HP is less than 50%, this attack bonus is increased by an additional 1% of max HP. So bear in mind that the Staff of Homa is obviously one of those weapons that you're going to pay money to grab, or if you save enough, you know, Prima Gems, you might be able to get it. But there is definitely something that is a close second as a 4-star. And this is definitely for people who want to make it a little bit more free-to-play friendly. I would definitely say that your best bet would be the Dragon's Bane. Now, Dragon's Bane doesn't have that crit damage increase, so you're not going to be outputting as much damage as, say, the Staff of Homa is going to. But you are going to get a higher elemental mastery with the base stat at max level being at 221. Increases damage against enemies affected by Hydro or Pyro by 20, 24, 28, 32, or 36% respectively towards your refinement rank. So if you have a Dragon's Bane at refinement 5, you're going to get that hefty 36% of damage increase affected by Hydro or Pyro. So it's definitely a close second. I wouldn't say that it's obviously going to outmatch Staff of Homa with its crit damage, but if you're going for that free-to-play option, it's definitely worth it to look into your Dragon's Bane. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about the artifacts now that I use personally for Hu Tao. For me, I'm using a 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames, and it's definitely worth noting why the Crimson Witch set is so good for Hu Tao. When you have that 4-piece, increases overload and burning damage by 40%, increases vaporize and melt damage by 15%, and using an elemental skill increases the 2-piece set's effect by 50% for 10 seconds, and it stacks up to 3 times. You're looking at your Pyro damage bonus, and from there, you're getting not only the 15% from before, but the 50% as well. So you're getting a total of 65% towards your Pyro damage bonus. That's already amazing to me, and you're going to be using Hu Tao for that Pyro damage. That's the most important thing, is you want to get that Pyro damage going. There are going to be some people that use different artifacts that just came out a little while ago. Shiminawa's Reminiscence, which is the 2-piece is attack plus 18%, and the 4-piece, when casting an elemental skill, if the character has 15 or more energy, they lose 15 energy, and normal, charged, and plunging attack damage is increased by 50% for 10 seconds. I can't sit here and say that this is obviously the go-to route. Personally, for me, I feel as though that the 4-piece Crimson Witch is definitely your best bet when it comes to getting that damage off, especially when you look at some of the substats that you could have with her, because you want to make sure that you cover all those bases. Hu Tao's Crimson Witch of Flame set, you definitely want to get a Sands artifact that has HP percentage. Now, you could do elemental mastery on this, but unfortunately, I have to disagree with that. I highly recommend an HP percentage Sands. One, it's very common, in my personal opinion. And 2, it works for Hu Tao because the more HP she has, the more damage she's going to be doing. Not only that, but when she activates her E, she's going to be losing HP as well, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. For your Goblet, you want to make sure that you have Pyro damage bonus. That is important to this whole build for the Crimson Witch of Flames. You want to bump up that Pyro damage up the wazoo. Like straight up, just burn everything to the ground. That is Hu Tao in a nutshell. Then for your circlet, you either want to go crit rate or crit damage. I personally would say go crit rate, only because of the fact that you're already pumping out your crit damage up the wazoo again because of Staphahoma. Definitely would recommend going for the crit rate more than anything else. Plus crit rate is a little bit harder to come by in that's just my personal opinion. Substats for each one. You want to aim for crit rate and crit damage as your first 2, HP percentage as your third, and maybe a tie between elemental mastery and attack percentage. I would definitely say if you're not going to go for the elemental mastery on your sands, it could work out to your benefit to getting elemental mastery as those substats on your artifacts. So definitely think about that when you're building your Hu Tao artifacts. When it comes to your talent priority, you want to make sure that you go for normal attack first off. And the reason being is because you're going to be normal attacking with Hu Tao more than anything. Her E causes her to lose health, but you also gain the Pyro damage buff towards your staff. Whatever it is, it's going to turn into a Pyro staff and cause Pyro damage. So when you're using that, you're going to be doing normal attacks. So definitely put it into your normal attack every single time. Your second thing is your skill. Obviously, you want to put it into her E in general because that's what you're going to be mainly using for Hu Tao. You definitely want to make sure that that is your critical thing after your normal attack. And then of course, level up your burst as best as possible. The great thing about her burst is that she heals when she uses it. So it's definitely worth mentioning that the burst is not something to really look away from. It's definitely worth the moment or the time that you would put in to making sure that all those talents are up. And I highly recommend, when it comes to Hu Tao, I desperately feel that Hu Tao's talent priority is very slim when it comes to the differences, but you definitely want to go for that normal attack first, your E skill second, and then your burst ultimate third. So make sure to do that. Now, of course, when you're talking about Hu Tao, you definitely want to look in the constellations. For my builds, what I'm doing here is I want to make sure to do 5 stars with no constellation. So mainly the event or the, summonable 5 stars outside of the original 5. But we are going to talk about the constellations and why they are important. So Constellation 1, while in the Parameta Paplio state activated to Guide of Afterlife, Hu Tao's charge attacks do not consume stamina. And why that's important is because, again, as we talked about with the talent priority, you're going to be using your normal and charged attacks like crazy. So this actually helps with making sure that you can just constantly dish out that damage over and over again. Or your Constellation 2 increases the Blood Blossom damage by an amount equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP at a time and the effect is applied. Additionally, Spirit Soother will also apply to the Blood Blossom effect. Definitely something to think about because if you're building up your Hu Tao to be HP, which should be a massive amount of HP, you're definitely going to want to make sure that the Constellation 2 takes into effect like that. Constellation 3, you got your increases of level to Guide of Afterlife by 3, maximum upgrade level is 15. That's pretty standard for everyone. Constellation 4, upon defeating an enemy affected by the Blood Blossom that Hu Tao applied herself, all nearby allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao herself, will have their crit rate increased by 12% for 15 seconds. That's a massive buff when it comes to crit rate because, again, crit rate is a little bit harder to get up there. Crit damage, of course, is going to be a wonderful thing for everybody, but that crit rate definitely always needs a buff. Constellation 5, and this is pretty standard for everybody again, increases the level of Spirit Soother by 3. Maximum upgrade level is 15. So you're always going to see that at Constellation, I believe it's 3 and 5. And then Constellation 6 is the biggin. Triggers when Hu Tao's HP drops below 25% or when she suffers a lethal strike. Hu Tao will not fall as a result of the damage sustained. Additionally, for the next 10 seconds, all of her elemental and physical resistance is increased by 200%. Her crit rate is increased by 100%, and her resistance to interruption is greatly increased. The effect triggers automatically when Hu Tao only has 1 HP left. It can only occur once every 60 seconds. This is crucial. Obviously, not a lot of people are going to be spending a lot of money to C6 Hu Tao, but if you did, this is the effect that you were looking for. It literally drives home how broken Hu Tao actually can be. But again, I don't have any Constellation in her personally, so I don't worry about the Constellation myself. Ultimately, I want to make sure that I bring you guys guides that show what this unit is if you only pull one of them. Of course, when you pull Constellation, it's going to be way better. Pulling one does not mean that the unit is bad. Overall, when it comes to Hu Tao, you're going to be seeing a lot of damage output from her at the sacrifice of HP. And we saw this before when it comes to Zhao. We'll be doing a video on Zhao later once he's completely done. With Zhao and Hu Tao's cases, they're losing HP as the battle goes on. As you can see, every time I use the E skill, you're seeing that HP drop a little bit, but you're seeing that Pyro effect take form in that staff. Now, what's really cool also is that Hu Tao is busted in general. And what I mean by that is with the build that I have currently and not even maximizing her best team strength, like you usually want to have her with people that are going to cause overload. With my current like team for her, which I'm using Hu Tao, Ganyu, which will be another video as well, Zhongli, another video, and Venti, also another video. With what she could do, she is hitting 150 plus or 150k plus damage. I actually was super happy because in a domain I hit 151k, and that was the highest that I had ever hit, and I was shook, guys. With what Hu Tao could do, it is absolutely amazing, as you're seeing on the gameplay right here. Hu Tao does sacrifice that HP, so you gotta be careful when you're playing as Hu Tao. I pair her with Zhongli mainly, just so that Zhongli can give that shield. She could constantly lose HP, but she will never die from using her skill. She will die from getting hit. So as long as you have that shield with Zhongli, you don't have to really worry about it too much. And that is going to do it for the Hu Tao build. I hope this was actually informative to the people who wanted to know how my builds were when it comes to just in general my favorite characters in Genshin Impact. It's always fun to be able to talk about what builds I use, and I know that a lot of you who come to my Twitch and YouTube ask me questions about what builds I'm doing for certain characters. As this video is out, we do have Yoimiya and Sayu that are out. I am working on them, I promise, and I'm also working on other characters as well. We have plenty of stuff for you guys to look at, but let me know in the comments below what one that you guys would like to see next. Would you like to see a Ganyu build guide that I did do, or Zhongli, or Venti, or anybody else? Like, what is the character that you want to see from me that I already have built? So again, let me know in the comments below. As always, guys, thank you for giving me the opportunity to entertain you. I love being able to provide you guys with videos and be as informative as I possibly can. We'll be back in another video as soon as humanly possible. And for the next video of, this series, hopefully within 2 weeks, we'll get another one going. But it's all dependent on what you guys say in the comments. So, as always, guys, thank you so much again. Love you guys to death. And we will see you guys in the next video. Please take care.